Yeah, it takes a lot of effort, but when you get it right, it sounds like it. And we got this one right. It's a long process to do silver mica disease, redo your IF cans, but once you get it and you get it aligned, it's right there. It's rock solid and it's clean and crisp as it can be. So this video covers how to do that. It's a long one that repeats itself over and over and over again. Also, another channel note, if you're into the automotive repair stuff, mostly diagnostics, emissions, engine management, drivability, all of that, I created another channel. I'll post a link to it in the description below. It's called, the name of it is 066 AAR. 066 AAR. So here's a silver mica disease repair video for your holiday weekend. This is a General Electric C580 clock radio. I did a video on one of these about 10 years ago. I had a couple of these, and one of them, the dial string was just broken. I don't know where the dial went to this one, but I ran it across it the other day, and I pulled it out and plugged it in, and it's dead. And I thought I remember these working like 10 years ago. Yeah, you can't tune it, but you can tune it from the back. And I have a feeling it's silver mica disease, so I think we should troubleshoot it and basically see what's going on with it. I mean, it's dusty or whatever, and there's nothing great about it, but the theory or thought here is that all of these radios from this era, especially General Electric, are going down with silver mica disease. And that right there is one of the symptoms of silver mica disease. And if you're not familiar with it, there are capacitors inside these IF cans. There's a coil and a built-in, usually two built-in capacitors. And they're, especially when exposed to humid areas, the silver that's deposited, the substance that's deposited on the mica wafer starts to migrate and corrode, and they quit working. And this is one of the symptoms. Broken off. Looks like it solders right there. Let me tack that back on. The reason why it's happening on both AM and FM is because the IFs are stacked. The AM is on the bottom and the FM's on top, and they work together. And if the capacitors are open on the AM, then the FM won't work and the AM won't work. If the capacitors are bad on the FM, I think the AM would probably still work. I hooked the AM. Let's see if the AM oscillator is running. Well, I certainly don't see it here. And it might not necessarily be running if the first IF transformer has got silver mica disease. I'm not even seeing the FM oscillator. I got the thing stuffed down in the FM tuner there. What am I? I'm sweeping from 90 to 120. I would think that should be enough. These right here are all of our local radio stations, and the oscillator, the local oscillator in here, should be putting a big spike, and I'm tuning it, and I'm not seeing it at all. Interesting, someone sarcosprofulated here so that you could tune the FM. There's a roller missing right here. Someone just tweakificated this so that, and I saw the other pulley here. Here's the other pulley. Someone dipocrinculated so that you could just use it as an FM radio, but thanks to the IF disease, it doesn't have any hope. Yeah, I mean, should we do silver mica treatment on this? There's only 4 cans. Here you can actually see how they're stacked. See how one's linked to the other? Don't do this without protective gloves, kid. You could get shorted. Kids. Multiple kids. It's kind of troubling that I don't see either oscillator, though. Let me look at the schematic. So this is the FM that's sealed inside that separate. You can see the dotted line there. And this 10.7 is inside the inside the tuner, and it does not have built-in capacitors. They're external, like that. See 6.8. That's how TVs are. That's why TVs don't usually suffer with this as bad, except in some of the sound. But this is where the problem lies, right here. See those 2 capacitors? You better believe those are bad. So the FM comes out of here and pretty much connects right to the first AM IF. See, because the converter is down here. So it's off the plate of the converter up to the transformer to B+, and then on the second side. So if that one was wiped out, I don't think it would kill this oscillator, though, would it? So, yeah, these are the ones that are bad, right there, and then stacked, those 2, and then probably that one, which that one is super important because that's you have to zero that one. So we got 2 in the AM, this one, and then this one. And they're probably about all the same capacitor since it's 13 ohms. Well, maybe not, that one's 12. We don't know the value, we have to figure it out. Let's try feeding 455 into this. I could barely hear it. That's the plate. Huh. Well, if I go in with 10.7 FM, I can hear it here. It's extremely weak. Okay, I'm going in with 100 megahertz into the antenna, and I got it there. I'm also barely hearing some radio stations. Okay, I moved the tube around and I got the FM oscillator started. I stuck the wire down in the, you can see it there. So I'm on KNX listening to
we cannot be our own worst enemies. No. See, because the minute something goes wrong, the minute a lie takes hold, folks, we cannot start wringing our hands. We cannot get a Goldilocks complex about whether everything is just right.
I'm adjusting the tuning. And it's working, it's just very quiet because it has silver mica disease. Yeah, I've confirmed it. It's silver mica disease. The noise, the lack of sensitivity, it needs to be done. Now I just got to figure out if I want to do it. Because I got to take the IF cans off, take the wafers out. The main thing here to do this is don't turn the cores. Once you turn the cores, you've screwed it up because we're going to take the capacitors out, put capacitors on the bottom and align it on the bottom. Okay, I'm going to take the board out here. I got a wire there, red wire, then I got down here, and I got the speaker. I see that this has a neon bulb for the clock that's completely burned out, which means that this thing's got at least 25,000 hours on it, which I guess that's not a lot.
She is as committed to our reproductive and civil rights as she is to taking on corporate greed. I see a leader with a real commitment to a better future for working families.
Well, somebody got her a speaking spell. But hey, getting things wrong comes easy to AOC. Even as a bartender, she thought an appletini was a drink stirred with an iPhone.
I just noticed these plates are mashed down and rubbing, but I don't think that might kill the oscillator, but I don't think the oscillator was going to run anyway. You can hear them touching there. I don't know, we're going to have to work on that. Guys, straighten the plates out, bypassed the clock switch, and repopulated the tubes. As I was getting ready to pull the IF transformers out, I'm labeling them. The FM's working, it's just no gain. Yeah, AM's totally dead. The plates are not touching. If the first one gets so screwed up, the oscillator won't even run. Whatever happened to this guy Timberland? He put out a couple, 3 or 4 or 5 good songs, and then just kind of faded away. He thought he was so great. The Nelly Furtado and remixed some other stuff. He was actually decent stuff from modern music. But yeah, I mean, FM working except the volume's all the way up. Got like a triple hump. Listen to that. 1, 2. So there's one right there. 1, 2, 3. Got a triple hump. Because the IFs are not in a line. They're just all over the place. This, being General Electric, is built down to the absolute cheapest possible price that they could get it. If they could get rid of one 2-cent capacitor, they would do it. The one interesting thing about these are the circuit boards and the way that the solder flows like all the way through the board. The boards are actually okay quality. It looks like the date code is 6449. I'm going to pull the IF cans off. I've marked them. I'm going to use compressed air, heat it up with a soldering iron, then hit it with compressed air. I don't really care that much about this. This is just sort of a fun thing, and another video on silver mica disease. Pretty much all these radios from this era now are getting this. So if you want to keep one of these older things going, you better learn how to do this. Because in the next 10 years, they'll all be dead. I mean, who even knows if commercial radio will still be on the air doing analog in 10 years? Who knows if anything will be on the air in 10 years? But in case it is, you got to be able to do this. I got the two 455s out, AM1 and 2, and I marked them. And they just got these little things pinning them closed. So let me get one open and let's look at it. Yeah, these are these cheap ass ones. Look at how cheap these are. They don't even have... They just have melted plastic holding that piece of wood down. So under the piece of wood... Well, let me get it off. Okay, so the silver mica disease is all that brown, cloudy junk you see there. Now, unfortunately, I think... Does that hold the pins down? So let me get the wafer out, and I'm going to try and save it so we can measure it. Okay, it's all cleaned out here. And I got to say, this one was really, really bad. This should look clean. There shouldn't be all that black crap around the edge of the silver on. This is mica, and that's the silver. And all that black crap around the edge, all that oxidation, this is really bad. So I got that one cleaned out, and the way that's put together does hold the leads down, so once I get it soldered back in, it'll be okay. So let me get this one gutted out. Here's the other one. Again, some real cheap ass. You know, the good thing is we didn't turn the cores, so we can put the adjustable capacitors and hopefully get it right. I don't even think I can measure these. Sometimes you can measure those, but those are so far gone. Those are so bad. Well, this one looks a lot better. See how the mica is clear? That's how this one should have looked. These are really bad. See how I'm testing this? And it looks like I'm getting 0001, which should be 100, right? Right about 100, which is about right. It's about right. Let me try and sandwich another one in there. This one is measuring like a lossy, leaky 120. So look at this one. This is one of the really bad ones. I'm on leakage over here. Leakage. Look at this. It's shorted at 50 volts. That was the first IF transformer. That's how bad they are. Okay, here's for some of the math buffs. 0.93 millihenries. Let me measure the other side. The other side is 0.98. Okay, the next one is 0.97 and 0.94. Okay, so there's a way to do the math and figure out what the capacitors are. And we know they're all going to be close because they were all close to the same inductance value. So do the math, show your work in the comments, and let's see what you come up with and what I come up with. I got the two 10.7s here. Let's get these apart and see how they look. And then I got my variable caps to put on the bottom of the AM. These are like 70 to 150 picofarad variable caps. Same garbage. These are just the FM 10.7, so they have a lot fewer turns. Here's the capacitors out of this one. You can really see the silver migration there. All that black smearing should not be there, and you can also see that the capacitors are a lot smaller. That's the AM. Of course, the more silver that's deposited on the mica, the higher the capacity, higher capacitor value. You can see, look at right here. These things were just really, really bad. Here's the ratio detector. This is the one that's balanced that you have to zero out. You have to zero the voltage out on your alignment. I believe this has one capacitor in it. Well, this one's absolutely horrible too. Look at the silver migration. All that black crap around the outside. Transformers are all back in. Man, am I doing a sloppy job on this one. I'm probably just going to use disc capacitors. Let's see if we could get the AM to work. Looks beautiful, doesn't it? You know, I don't know how it's going to work without the FM because it's stacked. It might affect it. I don't know. Because we're missing the capacitors out of the FM, which I know the coil is a lot smaller, but still. Power's been applied. Nothing. Okay, what did I screw up? I ohmed out all the cans. I had all these adjusted for maximum. I think I put these two tubes in wrong. This should be the BE6 and this should be the BA6. Riding the short bus here. Let me switch these. Okay, let's see if it performs any better. Wow. Oh.
have been hunting for a suspect who said he wants to kill Donald Trump.
I haven't heard about that. They probably want to keep it from me. Thank you for telling me. Let's get out of here right now. No, thank you very much for saying, but no. I've known him a long time. Very smart. A little bit different, and that's okay. But he's a very smart guy. He's loved by a lot of people, and I'm hearing that he wants to leave. Don't forget he was treated very unfairly. I think he would have beaten Biden in a primary.
Trump is addressing a rally in Glendale, Arizona, or has in Glendale, Arizona, today. Right now, Gabby Gifford, speaking of Arizona, former Representative Gabby Gifford's on stage right now. Her husband, Mark.
We have Susan from Hesperia.
Okay, let's do this. Let's get the micro Doigebeimler here and scrocosprofulate. Okay, so 455. And what I'm doing is I'm going into pin 1 of the first IF amp. Well, there's only one IF amp, but I'm going into pin 1, which is the input of the tube. That'll allow us to align the second IF first. The second IF transformer. You can hear it waking up. Okay, let's get off the station. Turn that down. Let's dial this in a little more. What we should probably do is put the FM on there, sort of align the FM, then come back and touch up the AM, then measure them. Okay, I need to go into probably the antenna and then align these two. Okay, well, I got this cranked all the way up and I'm not getting anything. I just got this wrapped around the antenna, so let's see if we can wake this up.
That might turn people off.
Ooh. I gotta figure out how to align this. Wow, that's loud. Wow, that's loud.
Currently costs you $139 a year versus Walmart Plus, which costs you $98 a year. So, what'd you do?
Okay, all right.
Let me ask you. I spent 50 breaking down all of his drumming during the show and going, gosh, I didn't realize what.
So that buzzing is the light in here.
So I gave him like a full film study, like a full post-game breakdown.
Lock up, okay?
Wait from the Eagles on this side of it.
This for the right.
With the power you have, Cyrus.
Feeling overwhelmed and frustrated after an accident is natural, but you're good 3-2.
Entrenador que llegó.
I think I got it right.
Proud sponsor of the Petros and Money Summer Tour. Turn all.
You can tell when you get it right, man. It just gets totally lit. Now I'm getting it through the antenna. This one, yeah. It's one I need to find a way to turn that without touching it, because try this. I think I'm about dead here. I'm listening to the 1 kilohertz tone in the background, and I think that's it. I think I got it.
Be coming in for a landing. Customer feedback.
You know you get it right when it picks up 1090 above KNX 1070.
About hypothetical scenarios in which back fees would be added to the cheapest fares. The company tells Bloomberg it's just an idea right now, a signal of any imminent Christmas. Our annual conference cruise to the Caribbean.
I got it right, man.
The Christmas holiday.
Okay, this is one of the FMs. It looks like it's about 30 picofarads.
Comes to the military, the Biden administration has been incredibly weak. She is weak on the border, and the Biden administration, the Trump administration had actually contained Iran. The Biden administration unfroze their assets, which then led to them funding the terror, the attack that led to the war between Israel and Gaza right now.
Yeah, this one looks like it's about 30 picofarads, but it's bad. This one,
We've got Kamala Harris coming up to cap off the night, giving her official acceptance speech of the Democratic nomination. She received 0 votes. Our coverage continues on News Radio 600 Kogo. I love Warrior Foundation.
well, that's pretty good. Kogo's out of San Diego. Impressive. So that one looks like it's about, I think that's 1022. Somewhere in there. The FMs are much lower, and they're much more critical. 1 or 2 picofarads throws the whole thing way off. Okay, these are 7 to 45 picofarads. I'm going to test them.
How can a party claim to be conservative when it tarnishes the gifts that our forebears
Oh, shut up.
Seems as though there's a blank space in the schedule based on what we've seen the other nights. Who will it be? Now, my producer Claire and I have a little bit of a friendly bet going.
Swifty. I'm a Swifty. Are you a Swifty? Nothing, huh? I want to be a Swifty. Huh. I guess I can't be a Swifty. Nothing. You need to align this right. You need to align this with a voltmeter and a signal generator, and I killed the signal generator. You can't align this like this. Got too much stray capacitance here. These big ass things are just like little antennas. They're no good. What I should do is turn that one around. Okay, I got it pretty close to where I think I can first align the FM, align the AM, get fixed capacitors in here, get rid of these things, and then dial the FM in.
When I think about the path that we have traveled together, Joe, I am filled with gratitude. Your record is extraordinary, as history will show, and your character is inspiring. And Doug and I love you and Jill and are forever thankful to you both.
As long as it's coming off a teleprompter, it sounds good. Really?
But I'm no stranger to unlikely journeys. So, my mother, our mother, Shamala Harris, had one of her own. And I miss her every day. And especially and I know she's looking down through. But do something about it. Do something.
Okay, so this is KNX FM.
That was my mother. And she taught us, and she also taught us, and never do anything half-assed. And that is a direct quote.
Oh, there we go.
A direct quote. I grew up immersed in the ideals of the civil rights movement. My parents had met at a civil rights gathering, and they made sure that we learned about, including the lawyers like Thurgood Marshall and Constance Baker Motley, those who battled in the courtroom to make real the promise of America. So at a young age, I decided I wanted to do that.
So the IF cans are what really make or break the radio, as much as anything. And you should really use the very best tight tolerance mica capacitors to replace these. I'm probably not. I'm going to just probably use disc capacitors because I kind of don't care about this thing. But yeah, you should use the very best. I found some trimmer capacitors here that I think will be better for the FM. This is 3 to 73, 15 to 60, and these are 3 to 30 and then 10 to 60. So I would go with these back here, the 10 to 60. These are a lot smaller. They're a lot less likely to act like an antenna. So I'm probably, what I'll do is I got to charge the little spectrum analyzer signal generator. I'll go back, I'll carefully align the AM, then I'll pull the trimmers off for the AM, measure them. We'll do that together. We can be friends and hold hands. We'll do that together, and then I'll put fixed capacitors on the bottom. And I'm probably going to go with just disc capacitors or something. Like I said, don't use disc capacitors like this because the thing will drift all over the place. But look at what we're working with here. It's not some vintage Fisher hi-fi. I got the SAMs here, and the way they want you to align the AM on this one is DC probe of VTVM to point A, common to ground, and adjust A1234 for maximum deflection. DC probe. So I got this, and I got the modulation turned off, and I'm all hooked up here the way they want. I'm going to turn this on and off. That's on. That's off. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to re-peak these 4 big trimmers for maximum, and then we'll come back and pull them off and measure them. Let's see if I can. There's one. That one's a problem, isn't it? This is the way they want you to do it. Okay, let me peek them up. Okay, I got it about as good as I can get it. You know what I should do? I should try turning one of the FMs and see if it affects it. Let's try that. Doesn't appear that it does at all. Okay, let's see how it sounds real quick.
Full of support personnel. How do you get the Oilers filled up? Support of the Saints so that they can do the work of the men.
It's time to get laser eye surgery. If the atheist cannot account,
Tonight, he has never faced the Tampa Bay Rays.
Brought up, huh?
Parents are happy about it. Eve Upton Clark.
Aire acondicionado, etcétera. You know, yeah.
Wasn't the reason you couldn't answer any questions after the press conference was because of advice from her then attorney, Tony Brass?
Yes, and now apparently he was never her attorney to begin with.
Of course you would be surprised. He wasn't my attorney.
Yeah, wasn't an attorney.
Okay, perfect. Let's pull them off and get the values as close as we can. Okay, the first one's around 110, 112 picofarads. Okay, let's just say it's 110, because if I measure it one way, it's one thing, and I think even though I got the gloves on, my hands touching it are affecting it through stray capacitance. So let's say 110. Okay, the next one's reading 105. Next one's reading 111. Next one's reading 108. I'm going to say they're all 110. Okay, we got some 110 picofarad. Brown, 111. 110 picofarad Micas here. I'm very tempted to order some NP0 discs for this, but let's get 4 of these installed and then get the FM values figured out.
Here at T-Bright, we strive to keep the Word of God at the center of every house.
Okay, I put the 110s in. I haven't done any alignment. I put the 110s on there, and I tried to follow this with the leads. I didn't want to cut the leads yet. I haven't made up my mind what caps I'm going to use. I put the, what are these? They are 15 to 60 picofarads. I put these on the FM, so let's align the FM. Let's see how the AM works.
22724, dial up.
Late. There's nothing but dirty pinko content.
That's coming. But what makes it... You for that, in a glass, mix it up, and chug it.
Sounds like we got it right. Sounds like I got it right. They're definitely 110s. 100 would be way too far off. 10 picofarads is a lot. That's like 10%. And for a mica cap, you don't want to be off 10%. Okay, what are these? 2%? Brown. 2% at 400 volts, probably. Okay, let's align the FM. Let me get set up to align the FM. Okay, it's so far off with the FM, I'm not getting anything. Let me see if I can bring it in by ear. Do I have any antenna on this? God, the performance is bad.
Station rock. Station 95.5 KLOS.
There we go. Boy, there's just the slightest movement there. I'm going to turn the capacitors right now. Boy, is that a tiny peak. Wow, is that tight. There we go. Wow, is that a tight tolerance. The way you're supposed to couple this into this thing is by putting a tube shield over it and feeding it in that way. I think I got it pretty close. Back to aligning these again, and 1 or 2 picofarads. I mean, I'm just barely going to move this thing. I mean, that is such a minute movement. I'm not quite sure what to do with this one. I can...
Number 1 pick ain't even in my top 10. In the valley, got a picked off a slot saying hop out, walk in, get paid, clock in, open, never, why put my in. I ain't turning down, I'm on. West and I was born on Browns. I got 30 bands up in the headlock, dead stock kicks, and it's gonna make the bed rock, lead hot, trip on me, I bet his head pop. He looked up, all these...
I mean, if this is off, you get serious distortion. I think I got this one right. Okay, now what I want to do, I got these aligned. They're very touchy. I want to zero the ratio detector. And that's this one. So, right now I got no signal. Now this should be 0. So what I want to do, this should swing, you should be able to rotate this and swing the meter positive or negative. So I'm going to try and swing it back to 0. Now I should be able to swing it so there you go. See, I can swing it either way. Man, is that a touchy adjustment. Wow. Just look at that thing the wrong way and it moves. Wow, that is a touchy adjustment. That's balancing it. Just the air blowing around in the room moves that thing. So let's see how it sounds.
Going on in these strikes? Giving it to you straight, no filters. Cab News with James Jefferson Jr. Inside the Bootleg Cab Show. Drill 92.3, LA's new home for hip hop and Big Boys Bankroll. It's back time. Every case is a home run. I promise you I'll be swinging for the fence. Make the right decision for the Accents team. Call me, Attorney Big Al, at 1-800.
Man, it's when you get it right, you just know it. I mean, when it's right, it's there. Listen to how clean that is. That's dialed in. When your Tony Braxton is that clean. Oh yeah. So let's measure these and see about where they are. Okay, here's the first one, the last one, the ratio detector, 36 picofarads. 27 picofarads for this one right here. And 26 picofarads for this one. So these two are 27s, and this one is a 36. So here are our values, and that's for this radio, that's not for your radio. Unless you have the exact same model radio with the exact same IF cans. 110 is probably about what I've seen in a lot of General Electric AM radios from this time era, but the 27 and the 36, those are so hypercritical. 1 or 2 or 3 picofarads, it's done. So you got to be right on with this. I know this is pretty accurate. That's why I'm using this, because the way I can verify it is when I get a capacitor like this and I compare it to what this was. If I get a 27 5% 27 picofarad 5% capacitor, it's going to say 27, just like the trimmer did. That's how I know this is accurate. All right, let's wrap this video up, or at least get going on it. I got the worst possible capacitors I could get for this, which is what I had. And this radio is just going to drift all over the place. Yeah, this does take a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of time, and there are a lot of steps to doing this. So here's the capacitors that I got. I got 10 picofarads and 100 picofarads to make 110, and then I got our 27s for our FM and a 36 for, at least I hope that's a 36 for the ratio detector. So these are the cheap, like 2-cent capacitors. These are, not NP0 or anything, which at a minimum you should use NP0, but you really should use the Micas that are about $6 or $7 a piece on this thing. I'm going to take these off and save them for a better radio. And we'll just put these on. We'll put the hundreds and the tens together to make 110. So when I measure a 27 picofarad disc, here's what I get. Let's check the other one. 25. The 36 is right on. I get 108 when I put the 100 and the 110 in parallel. So we're real close here. It's just the drift. As these things heat up, they change value. One way to kind of mitigate that is to align it when it's hot. Leave it on for an hour and then come back and align the cores. If anyone gets a boner off hack job repairs, your time is now. But hey, you know you got it right when you turn it on and it works.
The city is increasing the number of unarmed volunteers to handle those incidents.
Called CIRCLE, Crisis and Incident Response Through Community-Led Engagement. The unarmed officers.
Ooh, circle.
2 years old, but 2 years is only about 7,000 miles.
But when you look at him in the middle of that back tire.
That buzzing is a light.
What does that tell me?
You've got great music and, you know, esperen, sigan sintonizando y sobre todo, no se pierdan este.
That's pretty good. Look at how close I got that just by changing the capacitors and not even aligning the cores yet. That shows you got it right, really, really close. Within a couple percent, I identified those capacitor values right. So yeah, these equal 110, 110, 27, 27, 36, 110, and 110. Do I even have an antenna? Yeah, I have a little antenna on it. Okay, what we'll do is we'll do an initial alignment on it. Then what I'll do is I'll set the board upside down. I'll let the heat bake up on it and leave it on for an hour or two, and then we'll come back and align it again. So the next thing to do is to set it all back up and align these cores. I got to find the tool that does that first. Well, I ruined this. I can't find a damn screwdriver that'll get in there. This is not long enough. These are the worst type to align. Oh, this is horrible. This is all I can find. And just sticking it in there affects it. I'm gonna have to go in and out and keep tweaking it until I get it peaked. Okay, now I'm doing the FM. I'm on 10.7. Yeah, this is miserable because this is probably going to throw it off so bad when I stick this in here. Or maybe not. Wow. So now what I do is I just kind of go in and out until I get a peak. Alright, let me work on that. Okay, now the top of this one, I got the bottom aligned to 10.7. I got this one, the top and bottom aligned to 10.7. I did this one here. Got all those peaked. Now what I'm going to do is I want to zero. This is the one I want to zero out. It should swing positive and negative. I want to get it to 0. Dink. Okay, here we go. Adjusting it. Oh, going the wrong way. I think. Yeah, so it should swing negative. You see it swing negative there? I should be able to swing it back positive. This is sort of the most critical one in the whole set. If you don't get that one right, the FM will sound distorted. Okay, so if I click, same thing if I click up 10 kilohertz here, it goes negative. 10 more kilohertz. See, if I keep clicking, now I'm at 10.79, 10.8, 1. What happens if 10.71, 10.7, 10.6, 10.6, 10.7, 10.8. So there's our positive and negative. If you sweep positive or negative here, you should get positive or negative voltage. Everything's working right. And all I'm doing to couple the RF in is I'm just taking this and I'm just sliding it in right here like that next to the front end FM front end tube. So that's it. And this thing is woke now. Listen to this thing. Listen just to the background static on FM. This thing is lit.
Optar entre dos salidas, o no hago nada o hago algo. ¿Dónde queda? Tú puedes pedir todos los consejos que quieras, pero al final de cuentas.
That's channel 6. The old television channel 6.
Debe de ser responsable de tus actos.
Y tú y nadie más que tú.
There's K-Jazz. That's a weak station here. It sounds pretty clean. Wow, this is one of those college stations from like 60 miles away. That's pretty good.
Back at our career center. And several of them are about how cultures and continents were subjugated for the West. I mean, that's what the Chile episode is about.
On our programming and our mostly unpaid programmers to bring you content about science, law, arts, culture, literature, government, music, without commercial interruptions. PFK, or go to kpfk.org and punch securely online. Thank you to my conversation.
Romeo sent you. Gio!
This hour.
With zero down and zero interest for the next 30
This opportunity.
On Sleep Essentials.
It's a safe space. Baby, you bringing me peace. You know.
Wow. That's K-Rock, man. K-Rock sure has dried up and blown away. It's pretty sad.
K-Rock.
Episode of Real Talk with the Realtors. I'm your host, the one and only Dilip Jaggi.
defects, no reception.
Naturales. Y descubre.
In the preseason game against the Seahawks.
There's one.
She.
Es primero y 10 autos que va a usted escuchar en este programa. Está con nosotros. 보는 시간입니다.
Okay, I'm going to let it warm up. Like I said, I'm going to set the board with the tubes facing down. That way the heat bakes up on it. Then I'll come back and align it in a little bit, in an hour or so. And that'll sort of help mitigate the drift in these disc capacitors. I mean, they're still going to drift. So basically, with these capacitors, when you turn it on cold and it's on a station, when it warms up, it won't be on that station, or it'll be off of it, off to the side of it with these disc capacitors. They just drift too much. It's been sitting like this running for an hour and a half, and the board's all nice and toasty now. So it's not as good as actually having it in the cabinet, but you can't access half the cores when it's in the cabinet. So I'm going to go through and align it real quick. We'll start with this one on the FM. Okay, I'm going to do the rest of them. Okay, I'm happy with it. It drifted a little tiny bit with the disc capacitors, not too bad, and I imagine the temperature will be about the same as when it's mounted. I'll put it all back in the cabinet and fix the dial cord. We don't need to do a video on that. There are a lot of steps to this. I would say these are the steps. First, identify the problem, silver mica disease. Do not turn the cores. That's the main thing. So identify the problem as number one. Number two is get the old IF cans out. Get the capacitors out of them. Get the mica capacitors out of them very delicately. It's microsurgery, easy to break things. Get them installed back in would be number three. Put the appropriate variable capacitors on the bottom, which for AM would be somewhere between 50 and 200 picofarads, and for FM would be something probably between 15 and 50 or 15 and 60. The next step would be align it using the trimmer capacitors, still not touching the cores. After you get it pretty decently aligned with the trimmer capacitors, remove the trimmer capacitors, measure the values, write the values down, as I did here, of the trimmer capacitors. Then after you do that, remove the trimmer capacitors, put the closest you can fixed mica capacitors in its place, then go back and align it using the cores with the fixed capacitors. Those are the steps that I use to treat silver mica disease. It's a lot of steps. It's got to be done right, but when it's done that way, you know you got the right capacitors, and you know it's at peak performance, and that it's going to sound and work its best. So anyway, that's treating silver mica disease in a 1960s General Electric clock radio, but this applies to any radio. Could be your premium Fisher receiver that has the crappy automatic IF cans. Same thing, same method. Make another quick clip here in case I have to go back and edit this video because of some music content that I had to go back and cut out. But I pretty much finished the GE radio here, and I kind of modified it since it was a piece of junk. What I did is I left the FM and the AM separate. I made a dial cord to go from here over to the FM, and I just put an extension shaft and brought the AM straight out, so I can have them, on separate channels and just flip back and forth. I sort of like it a little better. We have a pretty good EDM show if you're into electronic dance stuff on KCRW on Saturday night called Metropolis. I actually really enjoy it. Yeah, you can go to AM.
Nestorian is just another word for Christians. And she saw them being brutalized.
Like that, but the debate will be a big moment, and you know there may be there could be another debate. There'll be a vice presidential debate. Debates tend to kind of freeze the electorate. So in between those debates, not much happens, and then you're into the kind of the blocking and tackling, as Tim Wall said last night, of the final.
I can't see them allowing another debate to happen. Anyway, so let's say you're there.
People who are still undecided.
I mean, I don't need a dial scale. I know the stations so well here in LA.
In Metropolis for new releases, including this one, Lights Go Out. It's from What's So Not and Benson. Lights Go Out. Juno Mamba from Australia with Too Close. Bunt, I believe, German.
Radio station here in Southern California, we really need your help. And isn't this the kind of program you want to keep on the air after all? So please call 818-985-5735 or visit www.kpfk.org to make as generous a pledge as you can.
I was going to say, that station should be a lot stronger. I get a little bit of a double hump there.
For the Summer Nights finale, September 21st in Century Park, Century City. This event is free.
And, people were getting bombarded by television advertising and
KCRW.com/Summer Nights.
And so popular then, but then there was a colleague of mine who was
kicked out because of your red hair.
Copyright term limits isn't facing any charges, at least
for her to mount. But she
fee for evidence.
For you to join me weekday mornings, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on KCRW.
I'm happy with it. I think it's going to work okay for me. Make it a garage radio. I'm noticing there's filter hum now. The filters are finally dying. But yeah, there it is, back together. I do need to fix that antenna. I need to get the right kind of clamp on it. I know I have them. I think I know right where they are too.